in the last hour, I just want to bring up that we went from traditional Chinese medicine to brain scan, to brain scans and more brain scans, and the alignment of architecture, neuroscience, and psychology. And that is, as an architect and planners, those are the information that we are hungry for. Beyond meeting with users, beyond lean process, beyond all of that usual workshop, the future of healthcare design. Are you ready? All right. Okay, now it's Friday afternoon. Thank you. Do we have a microphone? We have a question over there.
Thank you. My name is Noemi Bitterman. I'm from the Technion, Israel. And actually, it's a sort of a comment with Professor Patty and a question. Professor Bar is back in Israel, and he is now head of neurophysiology, a big department, and he's collaborating with us, and one of our PhD students in industrial design is doing continuous research on the effect of different patterns of houses and homes and interior and exterior. So I'm very happy that you are continuing it as well, and we are doing it also. And the question, I'm sure that you had 36 subjects, you have said, and you talked about significance. However, have you seen any correlation dependent upon age, upon gender, or upon previous experience of the people with hospitals or with some sort of illness or something like that?
No, we did not run any correlation or analysis based on gender or age, because of the small number of subjects we had.
I think it would be illuminating.
We'd love to see that with, perhaps a larger subject pool in the future. And the only condition we had for the subjects was that they should not have had any fMRI experience or a MRI experience in their life. That was the only condition we had. But I'm pretty sure a lot of them probably had hospital experiences before.
Any other questions? No question on neuroscience or brain scans? I have a question for Calvin. Oh, we do? It's over there.
I'm Kenneth Fong from the Hong Kong Polytechnic University. I would like to ask Calvin, your topic is very interesting. You mentioned about the word feng shui in your PowerPoint. And actually, I found much of the contents of your PowerPoint related to design is more or less related to feng shui rather than TCM. Because for those people who believe in feng shui, it has a kind of, we call it spiritual effects. And for those people who do not believe in feng shui, it can be a kind of a school of design that can be benefit to the people. And in Hong Kong, most of the population believe in feng shui. Even we go to the HSBC, the CEO will also believe in feng shui, right, in the design of the building. So I would like to ask your opinion about feng shui rather than TCM, because I think both feng shui and TCM is original from what you mentioned about the yin and yang. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Professor Fong. I wasn't talking about feng shui because, and I'm not also qualified to talk about feng shui at all, so I have to apologize that. As I have emphasized in my presentation, the theory or the hypothesis that I have built is purely upon the theory of traditional Chinese medicine, and it is a very separate line of thoughts from feng shui. As you said, it was correct, the origin of feng shui and Chinese medicine is the same. But since medicine is something that can be practiced, the outcome, the health outcome can be measurable. And as I say, we run randomized clinical trials to prove that the medicine and also the acupuncture to apply using what I've just mentioned, the theory of 5 elements, that can be done and measured. And as feng shui, I do not aware of any way that you can measure it. So I'm afraid I cannot answer your question about feng shui, but just Chinese medicine. Sorry, Dr. Fong. Unless anyone on the floor knows more about feng shui than me, I have no knowledge. But you're right, a lot of buildings do follow feng shui, that's correct. But my interest in, from a Chinese medicine point of view, to buildings is purely on health outcomes. So that's the only thing that I think of when I build this hypothesis.
Thank you, Professor Fong. Kevin, so I got a quick question. Can similar approach to be applied to environmental design in other areas beside dementia?
Oh, yeah, sure. Dementia was picked out. I purposely looked at dementia because dementia has a very profound, especially people with Alzheimer's disease, they have very profound perceptible deficiency in their visual capacity. I was just talking to Professor Petty a while ago that a lot of research can go into that area. And also because architecture, a lot of times we use form and space to influence the feeling and the emotion of the people who are in the space or looking at the space. Mm-hmm. Therefore, dementia, with this particular very profound deficit in their visual perception ability, is a very good subject to prove an hypothesis. Certainly, actually, as a matter of fact, Chinese medicine is practiced in all areas of illnesses. And similarly, if my theory can stand up to certain validation, then it can be applied to almost, I might say, virtually every other illnesses. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So, David, you've mentioned change management. Our office went through the same thing. We went from old corporate setup to open office, but we did not prepare our staff for it. Yes. We're still adjusting a year later. What's your thought on it, and is there more research being done?
You know, I have an ethical or moral issue going with this research. These corporations are using well-being and happiness for a number of reasons and forces. There's a massive redundancy going on across the workforce, okay? Before and after these moves into these buildings. They're laying people off. Sometimes 10 to 20% of the staff are being laid off, made redundant before the moves and then after the moves. They're radically restructuring their operations, the way they do business, and people are more or less expendable in those types of environments. So, although they are making significant investments in these facilities, and the people, and you know, I'm not attuned to their human capital and resource issues in these companies, but they're obviously using these change initiatives to call their staff. And I don't know what's going on in different parts of the world, but this is what's going on in Australia.
Yeah, we were struggling a little bit with it. Yeah. May I ask another question? Dr. Petit. So as of right now, how extensive is the body of neural architecture research being done currently?
As of now, not that much.
Still new.
If you know about the Academy of Neuroscience for Architecture, based in San Diego.
Closer?
That's
better.
So that's a group of neuroscientists and architects who have been talking for the last decade or so. I don't know how long, probably 10 years. The problem has been that you have world-renowned neuroscientists in that forum who understand neuroscience very well, but not architecture that much. And then you have pretty famous architects in that forum who are going there basically asking, how can neuroscience help us design better? And so you had two groups of people who really don't understand each other that much, but talking in the same forum for the past 10 years. I think studies like these are beginning to develop that knowledge base, beginning to link both sides. And neuroscience is important for us. I sort of look at it as the binary language, the 0101 for computer science, because that really takes us to the root of why we do what we observe people to be doing.
The Nobel Prize in Physiology in 2014 went to a team of researchers, neuroscientists, that discovered grid cells and place cells in the human brain. That gives us our sense of orientation in the environment. That gives us our sense of place in the environment. These grid cells actually fire in a grid pattern in our brains. And these are the types of discoveries that are going on right now.
Yeah.
So we are opening up whole new horizons of understanding. And it has really significant bearing on architecture. Ashen Vartanian at the University of Toronto is doing some very significant research on architectural design and neuroscience, and he's doing research in contours. And he's doing research in contours in architectural environments. So you should take a look at that because it's fascinating.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you all for hanging with
No,
us.
one more question?
One more question. Over.
Do we have time?
Hi.
We have time. Okay.
Hi. Is this on? I think it is. Hi, Kate again. I got a question about this kind of communication of information and things like that. We are still so siloed and, you know, within our own discipline. And yeah, an Academy of Neuroscience and Architecture is fantastic. But for that community that's looking for that information. So what is the solution from all three of you? Because you come from such different backgrounds. But how can we start making meaningful connections outside of our communities that actually can empower each other? You know, maybe it's not just in publishing literature, for example, that's going to be buried under the wrong searches. You know, what is an actual opportunity to make this information tangible, usable, swallowable, workable, you name it?
Well, I can only speak in terms of my own effort at it because I think what was lacking in the past was architecture is purely a applied profession that really doesn't train you as a professional during your education to do research or even to understand research.
We
So very
resist
few
research
architects
sometimes.
would even understand how to take a question and turn that into a research question and forget about conducting research. Now, recently, over the last 10 years at least, we are seeing more and more research happening in professional architecture firms.
Yeah.
I believe HKS was the first to hire someone full-time, that was me. So as that happens, you'll see that you are developing more links between the neuroscience community or the medical community and architecture, because you need that vocabulary and understanding to be able to communicate with each other. And the first thing I do, this was my second neuroscience study. I have one more going on. The good thing about ANFA is that when I did this study, the first thing I present is go to ANFA and present in front of those world-renowned neuroscientists and get their comments so that I am confident that my study is on solid grounds. But that dialogue is happening, and as more and more architects are getting into architectural research, asking design questions, but through technology as well as techniques and methodology, more and more of that dialogue is occurring now.
Yeah. Did that answer your question, sort of? David?
I'm good. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Anything else? Thank you so much. Let's give our speakers a round of applause. And Doctor, Dr. Lenny, have something for you? Already comparing notes? Okay, stay, David. Stay, David. Thank you.